Right, hello everyone. So bear with us because this is the first time we've ever done anything like this. But today we're going to do a quick webinar which will hopefully help anyone who's got a property they're renting, planning to rent, or just people that are interested in property in general. And today we've got our lettings manager Carol. Hello Carol.
Good evening, how are you all?
Who will be on hand to answer all the questions. Carol really is a fountain of knowledge, so anything lettings related, she is the lady. So no pressure, Carol, but a couple of topics I thought we'd note down that people might find interesting. The first thing I wanted to ask you is, and people struggle with this a lot, and I get asked this a lot when I'm doing sales valuations, when people say, okay, I'm not sure whether to sell my property or rent my property. How can people work out what should be the right rent for their property? I mean, obviously speak to an expert, hopefully.
Yeah.
But what's the right rent for a property?
Well, there's a lot of factors to take into account to get the rent set where it should be. And the most important thing to do is research to start with. Research. So you're researching your area, you're researching what schools are around, what amenities are around it. And what I found is that lots of landlords or prospective landlords will go on to Zoopla or Rightmove to get the best and the worst rents, and sometimes they can be so varied that it's quite scary for landlords to see those figures. There can be a difference of £400 or £500 a month, and landlords can sometimes expect this. Then when they talk to a letting agent or an experienced or expert on rentals, they're going, well, that's not what I saw on Zoopla, that's not what I saw on Rightmove, they give me such and such a figure.
Yeah, I think it's very much parallels there with the sales market. You cannot be over-reliant on a single tool like Zoopla, or lots of other websites do it as well. Because they just give such broad range.
The generic, aren't they? It's quite generic, and they take this, but they've not been inside the property, they've not had the feel for it, they've not saw the decoration and how it's presented, and what the property offers and what the area offers. Really, they're just going, we've got a range of 50 houses, they range from that to that, so it's between that range, and that's not how it works in reality.
And I suppose with dealing with high volumes of properties like you do on a daily basis, a lot of it just comes down to comparison as to what else is available, and what tenants are looking for at that given time. I expect stock plays a bit of a part as well.
Absolutely. And you'll get tenants that, it really boils down to what a tenant will pay for a property, and there's certain factors that will let that tenant decide what they're willing to pay. Some of them we've mentioned: area, schools, shops, accessibility for things. But the presentation of that property as well is really important.
Yeah,
and it's so much. It can save so much time, so much money, and so hassle if a landlord either knows what he's doing and does his own research, or he uses someone that does know. And avoid having long voids, large turnover of tenants. A void period of a month can cost a landlord, a fortune. If they've got a mortgage, they've got the council tax, they've got the standing charges for the utilities, and then the house sitting empty, their insurance is higher. It's a costly error to try and pitch the rent too high for what you're offering and where it is, and the market demand. Then to take slightly less on the rent and have it filled within 2 or 3 weeks. The saving you make is unbelievable.
It's a complete false economy, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely.
We do hear this phrase a lot as well. I mean, obviously the amount everyone's looking to maximise their property, and rightly so. That's what we are looking to do. But also it's taking that sort of common sense approach and hopefully getting a good quality of tenant. And I suppose that comes from choice as well. So whenever we market a property for let, I know, Carol, you're always saying to me that the ideal scenario is we have 2 or 3 people or suitable candidates to choose from, which can sometimes be disheartening because obviously it's not nice for people to miss out on properties. But from the landlord's perspective, perspective, having that choice can enable us to make the right decision. But the next one I had down, and this is one I get asked again an awful lot, I'm sure you do as well, is to the average man or woman on the street, what do I need to do in order to rent my property? So Carol, what do I, if I have a house that's become empty, I'm looking to rent it out, what do I do next?
Well, that kind of follows on from the last subject we were just talking about. So you're looking at what rent you want to achieve that rent and to attract the tenants and getting the house ready for renting out. You start really basically at the front of the property, the curb appeal. You know, if you've got a driveway, make sure it's, there's no weeds in it. You know, the presentation of the property from the outside all the way in is what is going to get you the right tenant. You offer a tenant a quality property and you are 90% more likely to get a quality tenant who's going to look after it. I've been saying this for years. If you offer a tenant, or you are offering tenants, a property that is not cared for, that's not well maintained, that's got carpets in that are 15 years old and, threadbare, how are you ever going to expect that tenant to take care of that property?
Yeah, that's
They're
a
going to
very,
go
very
in and
good
go,
point.
you've given it me like this, what do you want me to do with it? There's only so much I can do to make it look clean and tidy. So, I get that landlords, it costs them money to do this, of course it does, but in the long run could probably save them money.
So getting the property presentable
Absolutely.
then aesthetically from the outside, I think that's a really good point you made there, Carol, because I think a lot of landlords maybe think, well, why would I bother? But I think the first impression, cliche, but it is that curb appeal, isn't it? When people pull up to the property, it sets the tone. And I've seen a lot of rental houses in my time where this is definitely something that a lot of landlords do neglect because they probably don't feel that it's important. But no, I do, and I think that's a really good point.
I think some landlords don't think, and some agents, to be fair, because I've come across them, they don't actually think, which is a very common thing to do, is that a tenant, once they've rang up to make a booking for a viewing, they will then be sent the full property address. Okay, so they're not just got the postcode then like they've got off Rightmove or our website or whatever. They are then sent the full address to attend the viewing. I guarantee you that 75% of tenants, if they're from the same city they're going to rent in, will drive past that property.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
they will drive past it, and they will look, oh my goodness, no, not interested, I'm not going to go, and they'll cancel the viewing or there'll be a no-show. If they drive past that property and they go, actually that looks really nice, doesn't it? Can't wait for the viewing tomorrow. It makes a massive difference.
Yeah, and I think again with a lot of rental properties, because obviously what we pride ourselves on is the marketing and actually reflecting that. So if we can capture and photograph a property which has clearly just had nothing major, but just clean and tidy, weeded pathways, you were saying, no rubbish, no bins left directly out the front. If we can set the tone with the photography, then when people go past, it all just rolls on from there, doesn't it? And I think that's a really good point. And in terms of inside the property, is there any sort of tips that you have for anyone watching this now, landlords?
Yeah, again, I think always get advice from friends you've got, from other landlords, from an agent, from someone that knows what tenants are looking for, because it's really important that it's clean, it's neutral decorated, you've got reasonably good carpets or flooring that are clean and, as I said before, not threadbare and not got big stains on them. Kitchens and bathrooms are just as important in a rental property as they are in a property that's being sold.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just as important. They're the two main hubs, of the house. Kitchens in particular. Who is going to rent a property if they go in and there's mould all around the ceiling in the bathroom? Or it's been sort of ripped out a little bit but not filled in properly with new seal. I know I certainly wouldn't want to take a bath in a room like that.
No.
The same with kitchens. Most tenants that are going to rent your property, most, I say not all but most, are likely to be coming from another rental property. So they are probably going to come minus white goods in a kitchen. They might come with,
That's a
obviously,
good
will come
point.
with their own beds, maybe the sofas, the wardrobes, the drawers, TVs, whatever. White goods they don't generally have, because the other rental property could possibly have had it. And they don't particularly want to go to that expense of buying a fridge, freezer, a washer, maybe a dryer, because the next rental property they go to in 5 years could potentially have them in it.
So a part furnished kitchen, in the sense of essential white goods, is another potential big tick in the
Big
box.
tick, providing they're in good, there's no point giving them a fridge freezer that's absolutely filthy,
No.
and the ledges are broke, or the drawer in the freezer's all cracked.
That's
I
good
wouldn't want to
tip.
put my food in that. It's important, and just giving them that. We don't even advertise that, or I wouldn't normally advertise that as even part furnished. It would be kitchen has white goods, including X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And the landlords can get cover on those really cheap. They can get the extended warranty that just rolls. I think if you get multi-pack on a washer, a fridge and a freezer, it can be about £13 a month for breakdown or
so it's
replacement.
affordable as well. Yeah.
It doesn't have to cost them a lot of money.
No, that's some good advice there, Karen. And I think that the last thing I just wanted to address, and it sort of all links in with this, is people now have got an idea as to what's advisable to do in order to let their property, which is great. But from a legal perspective, what do people need to do and need to know before they can let their property? So for an example, because again on the sales side this is true, I know that one thing you have to have is an energy performance certificate, which is the energy rating of the property. But what else does a potential landlord need to do to their property before it can be advertised for let?
As you said, the EPC is one. You only need that if it runs out while you've got a tenant in there. You don't have to get a new one. Once you're getting a new tenant in, you do need to have a valid one. You also need your gas safety certificate, which is an annual check that landlords or anybody renting out a property has to have done. And any gas appliances that are in the property also have to be tested by a qualified gas safe engineer. And as of last year and then into this year, you now need the EICR, which is the Electrical Installation Condition Report. Every property going on the market has to have one. Either have it booked in before the tenants are moving in, or they have to have one to give the tenant. These are 5 yearly, so not yearly. Yes, they are a little bit expensive, but they're not every year. They're every 5 years. And they can be less than 5 years if recommended by the electrician. But I've not had one yet of all the properties we've done them for, one that's been recommended less than 5 years. Unfortunately, a lot of these properties that have never had electrical inspections are coming back requiring remedial works.
Yeah, I heard this a lot. This is nothing to be surprised by. It's the vast majority, isn't it?
Absolutely. Even some houses that are only maybe 10, 15, 20 years old, there's still some part of them where there is, we've had remedial works going from maybe £100 up to the worst case scenario of a rewire. But generally they're sort of, between the 100 and 500, because they're only small things. Lots of the newer properties that I bet your landlords aren't aware of is, the bathroom lights that are put in on the new properties, maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they're not suitable because they're not the water
It's
can
incredible,
see.
isn't it? Yeah.
So the majority of them, and a lot of purpose-built apartments that we've done, have had to have bathroom and kitchen lights changed.
Yeah, that's something that you would
because they're not sealed units.
Yeah, and as an owner, you wouldn't think that at all, would you? So again, it's just highlighting there is actually quite a lot. We're going to helpfully just put a little list on screen for people to see now, where you can see in bullet point form what's required. But I think it just highlights the point that lettings, there's been lots of legislation changes, lots of tweaks to what is and isn't required, and it just feels to me. Carol, who just to be clear to everyone, I work predominantly on the sales side of our business. It is a real minefield, and getting proper advice nowadays isn't something that you should do. It really is something that you need to do.
Absolutely.
For peace of mind. And I think a lot of the changes, there's a lot of good reasons behind it. I mean, obviously, safety of tenants is always going to be paramount. But with the latest regulations with electrics, it is something that you can't take a chance with. So we can explain all of that. And as I say, there are some bullet points on screen now that just show you, give you a few pointers. Just to sort of wrap up, Carol, really, was there anything, any other sort of comments that you have at the moment with lettings and how the market's looking and how we sort of approach the end of 2021?
Yeah, definitely. There's a couple of things just going back, just very briefly on the safety things that we talked about, the EICRs, gas safety. EICRs, some landlords have commented that this is just ridiculous, it's another way of getting money off us, etc. Actually, you need to think about it a bit more deeper than that. About 60% of household fires are started by an electrical fault.
Wow.
If you can find that information on the internet, it's all there. About 50 to 60% by electrical issues. So for the sake of £300 to get that test done that lasts 5 years, surely to goodness that would mean a landlord can sleep better at night, knowing he's protecting his tenants.
Yeah.
The other thing as well is that just think of all the other things. We've just talked about 3 things required. You know, you've got Legionnaire tests to do, Legionnaire, you know, if your house has been empty a while. There's about 213 regulations. Some of them are really obscure, but they're there that someone letting out a property should know.
Wow.
And it's frightening. I don't even have the list of them, all of them, but you can find it again on the internet, and it's a whole list of over 200.
And for your average person in the street, you know, that's quite an intimidating amount of legislation to be abreast of and make sure you're complying with, isn't it?
And tenants are getting so much smarter. Tenants are so smart. They know what they should have, what service they should be getting, what conditions they should be offered and living in, and they know what they can do if they've not got them. It is so costly for any landlord if he hasn't got an EICR, if he hasn't got a gas safety certificate, if he hasn't got an EPC. One of the major things is you can't issue any notices for possession, whether they're in arrears or whether they're not in arrears.
Wow.
If you have not provided them with all that.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, yeah, so again, Carol, it's just good to be having a chat with you and hearing, you know, directly from yourself some of these things, because I'm sure a lot of people would be completely unaware. And just to sort of, wrap things up, looking forward to sort of the end of the year, what's activity like at the moment? Tenant demand, landlord demand?
Tenant demand is amazing. We have not got enough stock. We no sooner get the property on and it's gone. We've had an average of about 14, 15 people wanting to view per property. Some of them have had as many as 30, 40 people wanting to view.
Wow.
The demand is really high. We've taken lots of names and telephone numbers for tenants, but the thing with the rental market is holding a stock of people doesn't always work, because they need somewhere in the next 2 or 3 weeks or a month.
Very fast paced.
It's very fast turnover, so having a big huge list, by the time you go through 150 people and ring them, 99% of them have got somewhere. So we need the properties coming in now and get them out now.
Brilliant.
So we need the stock because the tenants are out there.
So landlords, we need you.
Yeah, we need you. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well done, Carol, and thank you everyone for watching. And obviously it goes without saying, if you have any questions, queries, anything at all, please just get in touch. I mean, the idea of doing these webinars really is just to get ourselves in front of people that need us really, or would like any friendly advice. So please don't hesitate to get in touch, and until the next one, look forward to seeing everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.